Hello everybody. So quick video today to cover all of the chatter online about institutions buying MicroStrategy. It seems like we have a lot of interest from institutions. So I just refer to two tweets here. Feel free to follow these people. They are very good at what they do. You can see that if you add all of the banks, and many of these, by the way, are money managers. You have one central bank, but many of them are money managers, especially BlackRock, for example. So some of that institution holding is accounted for by ETFs. But if you look at all of these banks, you're looking at 29.7 million shares added in Q4. And if you look at the pension funds, and these are all USA pension funds, you're looking at 330 million. So a total of 10.44 billion worth of shares held by quote-unquote institutions is accounted for in this Q4, and this is all new ownership that we didn't know just a few days back, as it has been reported. And so there's a lot of chatter on the internet. People are very happy about it. MicroStrategy seems to be going more and more mainstream. This article also resurfaced and was repopularized. So if you look at this article talking about how Forbes magazine being a very mainstream finance journal read by a lot of practitioners, they call it a revolution in corporate finance at Forbes. And so it's a positive, it's a highlight. They call Saylor a Bitcoin alchemist, and so Forbes typically features the successful people of the era. You may remember like the Steve Jobs article on Forbes, or there's been a few Bill Gates articles. These have all been very successful articles, and so this kind of legitimizes Saylor in the eyes, I think, of institutional investors. Like I said, a lot of institutions, they own MSTR on behalf of their clients. That's obviously the case of pension funds, right? They invest for their retirees. But if you look at the number of big ETFs that own MSTR, it's quite impressive. Of course, the QQQ, but you also have the cheaper version of a QQQ. You also have the equal size QQQ. Saylor, of course, the stock MicroStrategy is a top stock in all of the crypto-related ETFs. It's also in big data ETFs, and the fact that it's at such a large market cap within big data ETFs really allows them to have more exposure. And then you have the leverage ETFs. This is more of an options play and an options volatility play rather than the stock, but nonetheless it triggers a lot of interest in the stock, which is why the market is excited. There's also some famous money managers that own an MSTR. So you have, well, this one is infamous by the Robin crowd, but you have Ken Griffin, the Citadel Hedge Fund. They hold a position in MSTR. Elliott Management, another big manager, they own a $31 million position in MSTR. Cantor Fitzgerald, a praised money manager. A lot of people love that guy. They own MicroStrategy, and you have the Central Bank of Norway, which has been known to be a really good investor that also has invested in MSTR, probably to get some exposure to Bitcoin, because MSTR is a stock. It's easy to buy a stock. It's harder to buy a new asset class. I also want to point out really quickly that the success for MSTR continues. This is the preferred, and so I don't know how many of you follow the preferred. It's actually up 16% since it was issued. You may remember it was issued just a tad above $80. It's now $94, and the interest rate situation, in my view, hasn't changed too much. Maybe a little more bearish on the interest rates, but this movement is very bullish, and I am hopeful or at least anxious to see how the ATM is going to work for the perpetual strike MicroStrategy preferred, the strike preferred, because he did mention in the call that he wants to do at the market offering on this one, and so I find it quite interesting. What if it breaks 100? Then that may be worth it to raise more funds, raise more capital via the preferred. Another thing I want to briefly mention is that in the meanwhile, the retail ownership is very strong. Kind of a silly comparison, but if you go to the shop, everything's sold out. Like, I guess the woman's tea is not sold out, but if you were planning to buy MicroStrategy gear, it's sold out. So this is obviously, investing 3.0. This is the world we live in, and so a lot of people are proud of their stocks, and that's what retail does, right? There's no institutions buying these, and retail ownership is strong at almost 60% retail ownership for MicroStrategy. For example, another well-known stock that is even higher in retail ownership is 66%. But you may be interested to see, like, if you look at a stock that used to be very famous for retail investing, GameStop has only 29%. So people went away from GameStop and they started buying companies that have Bitcoin exposure, MicroStrategy being the chief one of them. But, it will be interesting to see also if GameStop ends up adopting Bitcoin or not, as rumors on the internet seem to point to, and as Saylor was spotted with some management at GameStop. I don't really know. I don't really know if that would be a positive or a negative for the space, but definitely when a company doesn't want to die, buying Bitcoin is a good idea, and companies don't want to die, and so they buy Bitcoin. That's kind of a story of similar, another stock that I've covered on this channel. Let me conclude with the price to NAV, or market cap to NAV, as calculated by Michael Saylor. And this is quite interesting because he uses data slightly different. That's their source. I have a slightly different source that puts it at under 1.8, but I'm guessing you should trust their source more because they are the ones now displaying it. And so when I calculated on their source, we're trading at a 1.9 price to NAV, i.e. market cap to Bitcoin NAV. Not a big difference. Under a 2, still cheap. This one I had calculated the same, but debt is only 8% of a market cap. So whenever you hear people say, oh, they have so much debt, what happened to the debt, what are they going to do? Well, the debt is only 8% of a market cap, or 16% of the Bitcoin. In other words, if they sold 16% of their Bitcoin, they could repay the debt. Or if they issued, over a longer period, if they issued 8% more stock over a fairly long period to not move the stock price, they could take that 8% and just repay the debt. So I don't think the debt is a problem at all for MicroStrategy. MicroStrategy so far is still an ATM story. I am eager to see more preferred. I am eager to see him complete the convertible debt offering. I can't wait. It has to happen soon, and I believe it will, because he did not extend the ATM, although he can extend the ATM at any time. So anyways, this was not investment advice, not financial advice. This is just entertainment. Hoping you were entertained. Please like, please subscribe. Thank you for watching, and have a wonderful, wonderful day.